realise I'm a little bit late to the party in regards to some YouTubers coming out and trying to make the case that it should be completely socially acceptable to have sex with children. But I wanted to kind of weigh my own opinion into this, and my opinion is no, don't have sex with children. A lot of the pro-child sex arguments seem to come from areas of morality and ethics and not being able to help a personal preference. Arguments to me that seem a lot more based on philosophy rather than actual facts and logic. But none of the pro-child sex groups seem to be acknowledging the actual dangers that having sex with children would actually bring on, and it's dangers that we certainly don't fucking need. I'm going to go through two videos. One of them I'm sure you're pretty aware of, and the other one is from an offshoot of Antifa called Anti-Pedophobe Action. I don't think they're connected to the actual Antifa, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were. I'm not going to go through the entire videos, I'm just going to reply to certain parts.
And sort of the general conception that people have, that society has in regards to that kind of thing is that, oh my god, it's evil, it's wrong, anyone who's attracted to kids, you know, they're like the scum of the earth, they should rot in hell, you know, blah, 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 blah. And that seems really harsh to me. I really don't like that view.
The reason people have that view about paedophiles is because they're trying to engage in sexual acts with people who have not yet developed the cognitive functions to be able to fully understand what it is the paedophiles are asking them to do. They have no knowledge of it, they have no grasp of it, the concept of it probably fucking frightens them, so obviously they most likely will not want to have a part of it. So the very thought of proposing something as extreme as that onto someone who actually has no understanding whatsoever of what is being proposed to them is what makes paedophiles scumbags. Even if at the time the child gives what you would want to call consent, the child still has absolutely no understanding of the physical or social ramifications of what it is that they're about to engage in, which is why people see paedophiles in a bad light. No one for one single fucking second thinks someone can actually give consent to something that they do not understand. Why do you think so many kids who actually get involved in sex with adults when they were younger, even if the kid did give consent, that when they grow up and actually reflect back on those things, they actually say, hold on a wee minute, that wasn't fucking okay, and they go to the fucking cops? Because when they were kids, they didn't have the cognitive ability to understand what was being proposed to them, and because it was an adult, oh well, an adult's telling me to do this, that must mean it's okay. And then they grow up and then they look back on it, and at that point they've actually developed the mental capacity to understand what happened, and then they realise they got exploited. See, if it was a case where kids actually did fully understand sex and did fully understand consent, then they wouldn't grow up and immediately go to the cops, and that happens all the fucking time.
And I don't buy into that at all. I don't think anyone is like a terrible person inherently. I don't really believe in like evil.
Hitler, Stalin, Saddam Hussein, Idi Amin, Pol Pot, Keemstar, try again, cunt.
Because like, why on earth would like being attracted to kids make you into a terrible person and someone who wants to hurt kids? I mean, most people, you know, when they're sexually attracted to someone, they don't want to hurt them. I mean, they care about them. They're not... I mean, anyone else who's like sexually attracted to, you know, whoever, they're not like out to get them just because they're attracted to them. So why should that be any different for like people who are attracted to kids? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Let me tell you why it's different. Let's say that I'm dating a girl my own age, or at least a girl who's actually fully mentally developed, and I'm physically abusing her, mentally abusing her, or any of those other things. She is going to have the cognitive abilities to be able to recognise those things, recognise that I'm not good for her, and recognise the negative impact that it's having on her life, and be able to remove herself from that situation. She's going to have the mental capacity to understand relationships, social norms, etc., so that she can spot these things and then also be able to formulate a way out of that situation. But with kids are gullible as fuck. You can literally convince them that the tooth fairy is real. Not even as a joke, kids will actually fully believe the tooth fairy is fucking real. You can even scare them into behaving by telling them Santa isn't going to bring them any presents. Or just by beating the shit out of them. I mean, good example of gullibility. Fucking Austin Jones. That a cappella pedo fella. He's basically now been arrested because he was messaging his underage fans, trying to get them to twerk on video, saying stuff like that. Yeah, I'm only 14. This ass is only 14 years old. Look at my fucking booty hole. He even gave birth to one of the greatest pick-up lines that mankind will ever see. I have to see your butthole to know for sure you care 100%. If someone doesn't show you their butthole, it means they don't care about you. That's a good example of a guy taking advantage of how gullible kids are and the power of being an authority figure in a way. Picture you are some little girl and out of nowhere, the person that you idolise the most, just messages you and starts asking for things. You're going to do stupid things and give the guy what he fucking wants. Because you're not going to be able to fully understand, how wrong it is what you're doing. You just want to impress this person that you idolise.
What a beautiful wedding, says a bridesmaid to a waiter. Yes, but what a shame the poor groom's bride is all
Pedo. Pedo. Because kids are so gullible, they're going to be very open to exploitation, and they're not going to be able to notice the signs of this exploitation because they're not mentally developed enough to realise it. And you really think that paedophiles aren't going to take advantage of how gullible kids are so that they can get what they want? You have too much faith in the human race.
They have to fight their natural desires, and the thing is that they are natural desires. People, you can't change who you're attracted to. You can't change your sexual orientation.
Being a pedo is not the same thing as sexual orientation. Fucking mongoloid. Sexual orientation is sort of part natural, part influenced by social norms, and it dictates what gender you're attracted to. Kids aren't a fucking gender. We've got enough fucking genders. The only difference between kids and adults is body, mental capacity, in a way, and personality. And those are preferences, not sexual orientation. I'm a boobsexual. I only bang people that have big titties. Like Kevin Logan. He actually broke up with me the other week. If only he held me like he holds that cat.
And when I'm sure plenty of people, even if they're attracted to kids, I'm sure they don't, molest kids.
Some do, get caught and go to jail. Some do, don't get caught and don't go to jail. Sadly, we don't have the statistics for those ones, but I'm praying it's an extremely low number. Nah, the world's fucked. It's probably not a low number. Some don't do it because they're worried about getting caught, but they would totally do it if it was legal. And some don't do it purely based on their understanding of the harm it would cause to the child, so their morals will not allow them to do it. In regards to preferences, I do think preferences can sometimes be natural, but also slightly a choice. But just because you have the natural urge to do something does not mean that you should do it. Your morals should always come before your personal desires. And if you obtain your personal desires at the expense of another human being, that makes you a fucking cunt.
Why are we so against this idea of kids being in sexual situations?
For the exact same reason we don't let kids drink alcohol, drive cars or own guns, because they are not mentally developed enough to be able to be completely responsible when dealing with any of those things, and the risk of them bringing harm to themselves or other people is insanely high. Because although children are our future, children are also fucking retards. Let's say that we lived in a country where having sex with children or children having sex among themselves was legal. STDs would rise. Teen pregnancy would rise. Sexual assaults would rise. The legal age of consent in the UK is 16, and even among 16-year-olds we have a huge problem with pregnancy and STDs. So imagine what would happen if we lowered the age of consent to include a bunch of other fucking idiots who are even less mentally developed than your average retard 16-year-old. You can't trust kids to feed themselves, wash themselves properly, or even dress themselves, but you think you can trust them to always use a condom? You fucking idiot. Also, just because you're 16 doesn't mean you're mature enough for sex. I know people in their late 20s who aren't mature enough for sex.
Either with other kids or with adults. What is it about it? I know a lot of people think oh my god, well, obviously you cannot have kids be in any sort of sexual situation because they'll be traumatized, and then they will be they'll have problems the rest of their life, and it's just you're gonna hurt them, it's just gonna be terrible for them. And I'm not sure that's the case.
There are tens of thousands of adults still going through therapy who might disagree with you there, bitch.
I feel we sort of raise kids to be traumatized by something like that. really cool if like we could be more open about sex as a society, like with kids.
We do have something like that. It's called sex ed. It's that class you get in school that teaches you about sex, teaches you how to use protection, and where you all giggle every time your teacher says the word penis. And that is as far as it should fucking go.
I mean, attraction is something that you can't help.
I agree with you to an extent there. There is a big argument just now that says that just because you don't want to fuck people of a certain race, that apparently means that you're a racist. But things along the lines of a white person who only wants to have sex with black people is definitely not the same fucking thing as an adult who only wants to have sex with kids. Because people of all races are mentally developed enough to be able to give consent to that type of thing because they understand it and they understand the ramifications of their actions. Children can't. Preferences are something that also develops as you grow up. For example, when I was 13, I liked 13-year-old girls. And also my geography teacher, Mrs. Caulfield. But then, as I grew up, my preferences changed and developed, and that obviously isn't the case anymore. Except for the Mrs. Caulfield part, she's aged well, by the way. But if it is a case of you are an adult and your preferences didn't change and you are only attracted to kids and you say that it's your preference and it's something that you just can't help, well, tough shit. Life's harsh. And there is no way for you to get what you want without it being at the expense of another person. And I'm aware that that is a very, very brutal thing to say. But you cannot understand the sheer magnitude of the fuck that I just don't give. And you can present all the arguments as well of, oh, but it's a part of human nature, and why does a girl start her period at this age if she's not fucking ready? I don't care, mate. Apparently part of human nature says that it's also natural for us to kill and rape. Point being is, just because it's a part of human nature doesn't mean that you should fucking do it. I know, it's unfair. But life's not fair, so suck it up, cunt. We're now moving on to the anti-pedophobe action video, which is a series of clips set to some very, very dramatic music that's sort of trying to give the video an impression that it's a video that's going to change the world. It just comes off as kind of cringy, to be honest.
Eine Abschaffung, das heißt ersatzlose Streichung der Paragraphen 173 bis 176, Legalisierung aller zärtlichen sexuellen Beziehungen zwischen Erwachsenen und Kindern, die gewaltfrei sind und auf freier Vereinbarung berufen.
Having sex with a child in today's society is wrong. Not because it's wrong to have sex with a child, but because society sees it as such.
People in today's society see child labour as wrong. Not because child labour is wrong, but because society sees it as wrong. They consented.
I think we need to be more compassionate to people who, are attracted to kids.
What your standpoint is on different things is strongly affected by the society you live and grow up in.
I mean, pedophilia is the same as homosexuality in the sense that you can't help it. It's not your fault.
I'm just simply saying that I think the age of consent in this country at the moment is too high.
And you don't...
Other primates have no sexual boundary when it comes to age and gender. I don't see why we should.
Monkeys also eat their own shit. Do you really want to use them as an example of how a society should be run, you fucking Mongo?
Why are we so against this idea of kids being in sexual situations? Either with other kids or with adults? What is it about it?
In a utopian world with no sexual taboos, having sex with children could become part of their natural upbringing.
Everyone is just so quick to judge, but no one ever thinks about what that must be like.
Pedophiles are people too.
They are natural desires. People, you can't change who you're attracted to. You can't change your sexual orientation.
A paedophile, by definition, is just someone who feels attraction towards children.
I think it would be really cool if we could be more open about sex as a society, with kids.
Pedophiles should be treated like any other people.
Progressing to the point where we can look pedophiles in the eyes and see them as equals is actually going to take some effort. And yes, that is the future I am pushing for.
Paedophile just means that you are sexually attracted to children. They love children.
Sex is not harmful to children.
Speak for yourself. I'm hung like a bull. I'd rip the little fucker in half. Look, this is a depressing as fuck subject, and if I don't bring the edge, I'm just going to want to fucking kill myself.
It is a vehicle to self-knowledge, love, healing, creativity, adventure, and intense feelings of aliveness.
I'm just going to put my view out there. There shouldn't be an age of consent at all.
North America and Europe are a stew of cultures and subcultures, and many of them are much more relaxed about kids' sexuality.
I think as long as something isn't destructive and doesn't hurt anyone, then it can't be wrong.
I don't think age of consent is helpful to children.
I am merely trying to defend society's most hated and persecuted minority. They can't help their sexual orientation, just like you can't help yours.
Part of the process is to promote those conditions in which children can explore and celebrate their sexuality.
Being a pedophile just means that you have different sexual attractions.
And what if no one believes this truth?
Someone already does.
When millions of people stand up and fight, they win.
Inspiring. Look, when it comes to paedophilia, kids do not have the mental capacity to understand what it is you're asking them to do, so they can't give consent. No matter how much you want to believe that they can, I'm sorry, but they fucking can't. I just want kids to be kids and do kid stuff. Play fucking Pokemon cards, fucking play with Barbies, and the biggest thing they should ever have to worry about is the dentist. Or getting sold to the Pedestas. Kids should be kids. And they should be doing kid stuff, not fulfilling your desires. That's not what they're fucking here for. I'll tell you what though, I'll meet you halfway. You can have sex with something that kind of looks like a child, but is completely legal, right? There are these people called Asians.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe.